So Serena, just tell us what we can see on sort of the western end of Bridie's Mound here, facing out towards the brew.
Yeah, okay, so these are the Friends fields, and the Friends bought these fields 18 years ago, and they cost us 82,000, and we paid off the loan a few months ago. Celebration, the loan is paid off at last. Dear Triodos helped us. So now we're free to do what we want with them, and so again, part of the Town Deal fund is going to be 100,000 to Somerset Wildlife Trust to turn this into a nature reserve. So they're going to make wetland and wildflower hay meadow and more hedges and trees.
So that'll enrich the whole biodiversity of this site, won't it? Quite dramatically.
It will enrich the biodiversity of the site, and from the rivers at the far end there, and then on the other side of the river, only a mile or two away, is Ham Wall and the Avalon Marshes Nature Reserve. And what Somerset Wildlife Trust is, they want this nature reserve to be bringing the nature reserves into Glastonbury. So then we will just have a short gap that we will need to create a wildlife corridor.
Yes.
And
yes.
this bit will be wildlife connecting with Avalon Marshes.
With Avalon Marshes, yes. So Serena, here we are on St Bridie's Mound at the western reaches of Glastonbury. Can you describe to us the significance of this site in terms of the wider Glastonbury landscape and the story behind its recovery?
Yes, it has the most amazing history actually. So behind where we're looking through to there is Sharpham. And then on the fields on the other side of the river, we've got a Bronze Age sweet track called Tinney's. They're on Tinney's fields, that's where the sweet track comes. And at the end of this ridge of hard ground that we're standing on, which is making this hill, and the ridge goes through to the river, and it goes to the other side of the river, and where the river is, there's a ford. So that was the natural entrance to Glastonbury, where you were coming across a ford in the river, and that's why the Bronze Age sweet track is going from Sharpham through to Bridie's Mound. So Bridie's Mound is the gateway to Avalon, and if this hedge weren't in the way, you would see the most gorgeous view of the Tor Central with Chalice Hill in front of it, and then like arms, St Edmund's Hill and Weariel Hill embracing Bridie's Mound. And the story is that the pilgrims would come and stay here overnight before going on up to the Sacred Isle of Avalon. So we've got the Bronze Age, we then have the Iron Age, and the Iron Age people had their village at Godney, and the river came along these fields just to the north of Bridie's Mound to where the ford is, and they found lead weights from the Iron Age people's nets that they used to catch duck and all. So then we've got Roman stuff from the Romans, and then here where we're standing, underneath our feet, is a Romano-British cemetery dating back to the 5th century AD. And it's the earliest monastic Christian cemetery in Britain. So earlier than anywhere else.
Predates the Abbey and...
Predates the Abbey, predates everything. Wow. We know it's Christian because they were all male and they were placed east-west, which is a Christian thing. There was one female and child, and don't know why. But we do know that there was this Romano-British site here, and then the Saxons built a chapel. So the chapel is just here to our left, on the south side of the mound. And that was a Saxon chapel in stone, and they built it over the cemetery. There's bones underneath the foundations of the Saxon chapel. And then the Normans came along and they built a bigger chapel and a bigger chapel. And then about there, behind us, is what they call the priest's hut, or maybe it's the hermit's hut. There's a house, a stone house. And there's a story with well, lots of stories actually, about the chapel being used and about there being a priest here. But over there, sort of behind you, was another house which looks as though it might have been the place where the pilgrims stayed, because there's lots of animal bones and pottery, as though people had been eating food and so on.
So like an almshouse for rest?
Well, I would say a pilgrim house.
A pilgrim house, okay.
It could have been an animal house, but it could also have been a pilgrim house, so we don't quite know what. So that's the archaeology, and that's the basic history of Bride's Mound. It's also got legends which link with that. So around the 400s, we've got two different characters. One is St. Bridget, and St. Bridget is said to have come from Ireland, and of course, coming from Ireland, she would have come up the Bristol Channel, got off at the Poldens, walked along the Poldens, come to Sharpham, walked across the Sweet Track, across the ford, and come here. And that's the legend, that St. Bridget came here, and that's why it's called Bride's Mound, because bride is the old Celtic word for Bridget, bride or breed. So she's supposed to have left various bits or pieces behind her, which then became relics, which are now all lost. But we've got the legend, which now matches the archaeology, which I'm really delighted about, when history and legend meld.
Fused together. Yeah.
And so linked with that legend is King Arthur. So King Arthur was supposed to have stayed up on Weariel Hill and had a dream, 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, telling him to come to the chapel here. And on the 3rd night, as in Celtic stories, he finally did what he was being told to do. And he came here and he found the priest was doing the Mass, the Roman Catholic Mass, well, Celtic Catholic at that time, wouldn't it have been? But the person who was helping him was the Virgin Mary. And she had her child, who she gave to the priest as the offering, the sacrifice of the Mass. And because of that, King Arthur became Christian and changed his pennant from that of a dragon to that of the Virgin with child.
So he was converted by a vision?
So he was converted by the vision here on Bride's Mound. So it's a very, very special sacred place in terms of legend. And we've got the cemetery and the archaeology that also says what a special sacred place it is.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's a wonderful history for us. So, Serena, can you just describe the impact of the Town Deal Fund on the way a pilgrim will, in the future, come up to St. Bride's Mound?
All right. So we are partnering with Somerset Wildlife Trust, I've already mentioned with regard to the Nature Reserve, and South West Heritage Trust. So this land is owned by Somerset Council, but they lease it to South West Heritage Trust, who manage it. And South West Heritage Trust have joined with the Friends, and as I said before, we're going to do the roundhouse and the access way and the car parking. And then down the bottom there, if you go straight down through the orchard, you will come to the gate. So in terms of the Town Deal Fund, this is where most of the money is being spent. We've been given 680,000, 135 has gone on buying this piece of land from the property developer, because he was going to develop more units, but then we asked him would he sell it to us about 6 years ago. 3 years ago he marked out the red line on the map and signed it and said you can have this, and it's taken 3 years from then till now, and we've literally just bought it a month ago.
So what will the Town Deal money, how will the Town Deal money transform this site
So the
here?
Town Deal money has helped us buy the site, and what we're going to do is create an access route up through that, from a gate here to that gate over there, and then on this side is going to be the roundhouse, which is going to be a meeting space, a venue for people to use, and there'll be car parking, there'll be picnic space, trees, hedges. We'll make a really beautiful access to Bride's Mound.
So it would make Bride's Mound a much more visible presence in the wider Glastonbury landscape.
Well, we quite like having it secret. Secret and sacred go together, but we do want it protected. That's our main thing as the Friends of Bride's Mound. Our main thing is to protect Bride's Mound, and we want to make sure that there's a beautiful access. And from that gate, they are going to do a disabled access path that winds its way and either will wind around to come up the hill this way or wind around. It depends on the contours, which way they're going to wind around. And then there'll be a couple of benches up here so that people can sit and enjoy the view, enjoy the tranquility, hopefully the peace. And it will be for people in wheelchairs, buggies, on crutches, children, pushchairs, everybody will be able to get to this site, which has not been accessible for most people for an awfully long time. That is one major access, care of the Town Deal Fund. The other one is on this side, where we have the Glastonbury Way going along the River Brewbank. And at the moment, there's a board telling the Glastonbury Way about Bride's Mound and pointing them across the left edge of that lower field. But once we've got them flooded for the marshes and all, the Glastonbury Way will come along the ridge, which is the original Pilgrim's Path.
Route. Yes, yes. What a wonderful way to come into the sort of the landscape of Glastonbury. You know, in both historically and archaeological, you know, perspective. It's a profoundly important pilgrimage route, isn't it?
It is, yes. And if you want to come here at Imbolc, the Friends will always have a little celebration. We do a walk from Chaliswell to Bride's Mound at Imbolc and have a celebration here.
Serena, how can the wider town, the wider community get involved in this project as it moves forward into its development phase and support the work that's already going on here?
Okay, yes, that's a really good question, because whilst we have the roundhouse being looked after by Pod CIC and they're managing it, where we need the volunteers are with the nature reserve. So Somerset Wildlife Trust are going to set up the nature reserve, but they won't be maintaining it. They will be giving advice, they will be giving help, but we're going to need a team of really keen volunteers to help look after the nature reserve, and that is where the majority of people are going to be needed.
And how do the potential volunteers contact you?
They can contact us via our website. That is probably the best way to contact us, or we have a Facebook page. So the website will give them the email address that they can email, or they can contact via the Facebook page.
Well, thank you so much for this introduction, and we look forward to seeing its development in the next couple of years ahead.
Yep, by 2026 we should be all up and running.
Thank you, Serena.
Thank you, Kevin.